Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to this week's episode of Budget Banking Podcast. I'm your host, Chris, and I'm with Beck here today, who's got an amazing story to share with us as she was
Oh
headed
my
to the
gosh.
studio.
Well, it was just ironic because one of the things we had been planning to talk about today was gas and gas money. And of course, on my way here, I,
I left you with a truck with Ani.
yes,
Again?
thank you for admitting that it was you that left me because I feel like you need this closer, first of all. But no, so I was on my way here. I'm one of those people where it's like, if I have to be somewhere, then I'm like super relaxed until it's about 2 minutes before I'm actually supposed to be meeting the person or getting to the appointment. And then I'm
Interesting.
this drives Chris insane that I'm always late, but I'm usually like a bat out of hell. And I, get out exactly when I need to, or possibly even a little bit late. And then I'm like, oh, but I hate people who are always, I don't hate people. There's a lot of people that are right on time. You like being right on time. I feel like if I invite people over to the house, it's like, you expect at least 10 minutes of them.
Well, it's the
being a little
military
bit
thing.
late.
It's always like, if you're not early, you're late.
But anyway, running out of gas on my schedule is about the worst thing that can happen to me while I'm in the car. And normally you are the one that's driving the truck. And so when I'm in the truck and all of a sudden the light comes on, it's like, "Grrr."
Well, you see, when the light comes on for me, though, that means I got like a day or two. Like I got a
you
long
push it.
time.
See, that's the problem
That's like
too.
50 miles
I
of
get
just
in, and
anything goes.
And it's not 50 miles. It's like 30 miles. And you run out
can
of gas.
stretch
You're
30 to
supposed to,
50.
I would say, well, maybe my dad just told me this growing up because he never wanted me to run out of gas. But he always said that if you fill it up at halfway, the gas from halfway to full lasts longer than from halfway to empty. So if you continue to just fill it up at halfway, then you get more out of your gas.
I think he totally just told you that to make you
Well,
be responsible.
I did run out of gas one time. Oh my gosh, this is actually funny. Well, first of all, on my way here, so many stories about gas, you guys. On my way here, I stopped and got gas, which I thought was very nice of me because sometimes I would just show up and be like, that truck's low on gas, but I did actually stop. And the entire time I just filled up, there was a man sitting in his truck around the corner and he kept going, and I thought, I'm not going to make eye contact. Like, I am not going to look at this guy. And because I didn't look, it's like he made it
kept going. It was his mission to get your attention.
Yes. And that was $63 of gas. And it was like 100,000 whistles in the meantime. And I wanted to look over and be like, I'm just impressed at this point that you've continued going. But I didn't.
Yes.
I stuck my ground because I'm stubborn as well.
Perfect.
And did
Meanwhile,
not-
because you didn't look over there, he could have actually just been listening to a song or doing something else.
Here
And
I am
you were
thinking it's me. No,
here you
I was
are
pretty
thinking
sure.
it was you.
There was
after
one
did something
time I
totally
made eye
different.
contact and I got a gross nod.
Oh,
So
okay.
it was confirmed and then continued.
The big question is
But-
how did you, well, go ahead. Is there more?
No, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, how did you pay for the gas?
Oh, yes. Well, I did. I paid on the miscellaneous account, which it was really nice because we keep the card for that account in the truck. So anytime we do run low on gas, it's never like, oh, I don't have that particular card associated with that account with me. So it was nice. And I checked the account beforehand, which it was like we had just enough to fill up the tank because we typically do keep that one. Since it is just like odd job, sidebar things and
Miscellaneous
gas, it
things.
stays pretty low, but it handles our needs.
Gas is one of the items when we're looking at budget banking overall, like where do we put that? And a lot of people, if they have a job where they have to commute every day, it's like, where do we use that money from? And there's a couple things that you can do. So one of them is if you have a job where you're going to the same job every day, you have a pretty good idea of how much gas you're spending. If you have kids, you're going to different events, you're picking up your children, you're taking them to soccer, other events, and you're spending amount of money. You can average that. And one of the places you could put that is actually in your house account. If you budget and you know you're going to spend the exact same amount around every week. If you are a traveling salesman or something along those lines, you actually need to pull that out and put that into another account that you can closely watch. Because if any time you're pulling more from that account, you can actually impact your overall budget. I personally, we like to do either personal accounts, vacation account, or a miscellaneous account. So if we're going on a trip or a vacation and we're going to the airport and we need to fill up, Sometimes we'll use the vacation account. Matter of fact, when we were in Miami not too long ago, we filled up using the vacation account just because we were driving all the way to Miami and driving all the way home. So,
Yeah, and it depends too. It's like if you do have a job where you're driving to and from every day, are you driving at the same time? Is the traffic similar? Because I've got some people who, in this new kind of hybrid environment, it's like they went remote during COVID. The offices are asking for them to come back. That's happening to a lot of people. Some people have sold one car. Other people just aren't used to.
we sold a car.
Yeah, we did. And other people just
3 years ago
aren't.
now.
I know. Yes. We got our trusty golf cart. We love that golf cart. But to that point, it's like these people are now needing to calculate or budget a little bit differently if they are expected to be in the office a couple of days a week. And then the question is, what are the hours? Because a ride at 4 p.m., if you can be flexible with your hours, if they're asking you to come back in, a ride at 4 p.m. looks a lot different than a ride at 5 p.m., when traffic is really crazy. I was just with a couple of girlfriends the other day that were saying, if I leave at 5, it can take me an hour and a half to get home. But really on a good day, if there's no traffic at all, it's a 20-minute drive. So it's like makes all the difference in the world, and that's all gas money. So,
What about carpooling?
I mean,
That's a great way to save on a budget overall.
that is a great way to save. If someone wanted to carpool with me to go to work and work started early in the morning, I'd probably be like, I'll spend my entire life savings not having to speak to you before 9 a.m. This is just, I'm not a morning person. I am a morning person, but like with the people that I love in my own household. Like Pepper and you see.
I was beginning to worry.
I'm just glad you don't disagree. I'm very happy in the morning.
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody watch the video on this one so you can see his facial reactions now.
No, the reason why I brought up the carpooling is because I've picked up people all the way to work. Just to make it easy. We're all headed the same direction. And it's kind of like, hey, we live close together. Let's go ahead and jump in the same car. We're going to work at the same time and leaving work at the same time. And so if you're looking to save some money, carpooling is absolutely great. If you live downtown, it's even better. Like for us, we live downtown. A lot of people walk. We have some good friends who just got jobs downtown. They have to travel now to go downtown.
Also, if you're within biking distance, that's a great way to be active. I know you've got a buddy who literally, he has all the money in the world to get a car if he wants one, but he doesn't want one. And he's just like, I'm going to bike everywhere I go. And he loves it. It's active. And we've got the Legacy Trail here in Sarasota where you can literally get on a bike and get from one city to another.
We have another team member who rides his bike quite a bit to the office and back.
That's awesome. Yeah. And you can lock them up. I was at brunch the other day and out on Longboat Key, and there was like 20 people that showed up, literally like every hour. It was
really?
Different biking groups like going out to eat. It was a great Sunday activity while I shoved my face with food. But no, what I was going to say in the very beginning about gas is that when you're younger and you're first starting to drive too, you need to take into consideration all of the expenses that go along with a car. And especially even like setting expectations for your children too, I think, whether you're an adult or you're the kid experiencing it. And we had some of these conversations with your daughter. It's like there's insurance associated, and of course there's the gas, and you can buy hybrid cars that don't cost as much in gas or get you further with more mileage. So these are all things to consider when buying a vehicle.
That was one of our decisions when we bought the hybrid car for her was to kind of reduce, and it gets 60 some miles to the gallon, and it really met her needs at the time.
Yeah, definitely. It makes a huge difference. But I was laughing because before I had my own car, my sister and I are 13 months apart. So she always did, things 1 year before I did. She got her license 1 year before I did. And we're very close in age. So I always wanted to be like her and do things like her. And so when she would go away and I had finally gotten my permit, or I had my license at the time. I just didn't have my own car just yet. I was like, I get to drive, her car. I get to drive her car. And I was so excited. And every time my dad was like, if you're going to drive it, you need to get her gas. Well, I was such a selfish little individual that I was like, well, I only need to get gas if it runs out. It was like you only need to get gas. Not like even if I drove it for like an hour, would I go and replace the gas that I had used because I used her card. No, it was literally like I only have to do this if we completely run out.
Right.
And so I pushed it to the limit. I mean, the light came on and I was like, I don't know. It's like we're not out yet. So I got it. And sure as shit, I mean, it was what we like to call a Jesus smack. I mean, the car, I'm driving down the road, the steering wheel locks up. I'm like, can't move. And of course, my dad's told me I need to refill this with gas. So I did pull over into this apartment complex and the car's just completely like incapable of moving. And I don't really know what happened. I thought something was wrong. And so I called home and my mom picked up and I was like, don't tell Dad that something's wrong with the car. That was always, I didn't want to get in trouble. And of course my mother told, she's like, well, did it have gas? And I was like, I mean, a little. And so anyway, she grabbed a gas tank from the garage. Mom's always saved the day. She went and filled it up at the gas station, met me at the apartment, filled it up. And I was always like, you didn't tell Dad, did you? And she told me she didn't tell my dad, but I know.
Of course she told her dad.
Of course
he
she
knew.
told.
That was that uncomfortable dinner the next day. Yeah. And then your sister making comments to you as well.
Well, then it was like I filled up the gas tank and I was like, my sister came home. I was like, you're welcome. Got your gas.
She felt so good.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of funny stories, but insurance can be really expensive for cars too. And obviously,
Absolutely.
If you do accidentally get in a wreck, your insurance goes even up.
Last year, I think our insurance went up.
Skyrocketed.
It skyrocketed.
I know.
And we didn't change anything, actually.
No, that's just homeowners insurance, car insurance. Inflation's been pretty hard on insurance.
Yeah. And that actually was a big hit to our house account because our house account actually went up in terms of how much we needed to put into it because of just the insurance premiums that increased.
Yeah.
So that was I don't think that was a very fun thing. I think that was about 10 months ago that we made that change. And we had a shift from other things like vacation. So, yeah. That was not good.
And you were, the truck was like an all you thing, and all of a sudden it was like, hey, we both drive this car.
Yeah.
Insurance went up 40%. Guess who's paying 50%
Golf cart
of it?
Insurance was like $100 a year. So
I was paying that.
you're sitting there paying for golf cart insurance, and then we were like, hey, all these things should actually be in our house account. Let's go ahead and make some changes.
Should we tell them the funny story about the golf cart insurance?
I don't know.
When you almost got my license revoked.
Yes. So if you get So I'd actually switched carriers because insurance went up. It went up 40%. It was intense, and so I had shopped around and I had found, and they actually transferred all three vehicles. Well, we have 3 cars and a golf cart, and everything got transferred except for the golf cart. So I got a letter in the mail, and it was basically
the golf cart's in my name, titled in my name, and so anyway. I didn't know this.
And it said your license is going to be expired for failure to have insurance.
I just assumed he took care of it.
And so I am calling, and I had to switch carriers again.
But what you're missing is the conversation where I was like, you need to make sure the golf cart is covered. I knew he was doing this. And he was like, yeah, I got it. Yeah,
they said it was covered.
And then when the letter came, he knew what it was. And he spent the day fixing it because he knew I'd murder him if he got my license.
So we live in downtown, and you're allowed to have what they call a low-speed vehicle. And so you could actually have a golf cart and put a tag on it. Yeah. It's got lights and it's got windshield wipers and
any road that's 35 miles an hour.
So you can take it, yeah. And so it's very low cost to drive it. It's actually our 90% vehicle. Like we drive that 90% of the time.
And it's electric, so
and it's electric, so we plug it in every couple days, and so that actually has cut our costs dramatically. The only real big change that we do is you actually commute to the office once a week, so we're using gas there, and then I now commute to the office since the first of this year, moving into the new office from downtown to here. Now I'm every day in the office, so we've actually had to plan for that, and that's one of the things that we always talk about with budgets. We created a short this last week, which was, hey, budgets change. Like these aren't things that you just put in stone and they're there. Life happens. You're going to go ahead and update it as often as you really want to kind of meet your needs. And speaking of that, we just made some changes just in the last couple days.
Yeah.
We actually We had actually created an emergency account not too long ago, and we had actually let that money build up for a little bit. And we just decided, you know what, we'd actually like to put some more money into some other accounts to kind of be more balanced out.
Yeah, we were running short in certain
running
areas.
short.
I mean, not short, but it was getting tight. Like, we plan to live based on what's coming in to those specific accounts from our paychecks, that come bi-weekly, and ours are every other, which is really nice. And so
Right,
we have
we're
the
really
same weekly, income coming into those accounts every single week. And when you find yourself multiple weeks in a row, like if something happens once or twice and you have a specific reason, maybe there was a holiday, maybe you did go on vacation and you pulled from it, but if it's happening just in your everyday life numerous
Right.
times, it's like, okay, we either need to change our lifestyle, something's got to
change the
give,
budget.
or change the budget. And is there other areas that we would want to pull from that's really not doing us any favors right now? So we had that
Exactly.
discussion, and we did. We cut some funds from the emergency account and
And beefing up other things, reallocated, and I feel like we've had a lot in just this week of where we have changed and made quick decisions. We're actually flying out this week to go up to Virginia. We're actually going to go to a big parade and celebrate the retirement ceremony of one of my teachers, one of my professors at VMI in the band.
That's super exciting.
Yeah.
We're
And
going to he went to the Virginia Military Institute, so it's awesome. I've been there once before, and this will be the second time, and it's amazing to be able
beautiful
to
up there.
Allocate time. And there's a specific event going on. Obviously, there's
Specific event, yes.
The band.
Retirement for Colonel Brody.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, no names. No. Yeah. No, this guy's incredible. When I met him the last time we were there, it's like he's honestly a TV character, like almost an actor. He's so nice. He remembers every
gosh.
student's name he's had over the past 30 years, it seems. And
When people talk about people who have impacted their
Yeah.
life, I think everyone who's experienced this individual, like they're
Has
like,
had
this
a
guy has
positive
had
memory.
a positive
Yes.
impact on who I am today. And I think that's representative for the, several hundred people that are coming in, to celebrate him this weekend.
it's a big deal, and everyone will be in the military parade, and the campus is I wouldn't say it's the most like beautiful thing that I've ever seen, but it's certainly
don't think Gothic
unique.
is beautiful?
Yes, it looks just like a military college, but the town itself is stunning, and there's so much to do in that area.
Shenandoah Valley, just, beautiful scenery. We had actually put this in our vacation account probably, when we booked this, probably 6 months ago. We had kind of put it in there and said, hey, we're going to spend X amount of money and go there. We'd actually originally wanted to go into this Airbnb, which was, we're actually going a couple extra days. So we're actually making this trip dual. We're actually going to go up there and visit venues because I'm planning the 25th reunion for our class.
You're the class
year.
agent, so you get the responsibility of planning a 25-year reunion. And so we're going to check out some of those places and make it, we'll do the
kind of like a work
reunion
trip
for
and a
Colonel
reunion.
Brody, as well as some of the things that we need to take care of for planning for next year. But
So we were there for 3 nights.
We were going to stay at the Airbnb.
And, it was really nice, and it was downtown. And one of the things that, as we started filling out our vacation schedule, we realized, hey, we're going to actually be really tight here. And so because this was more of a work trip, we kind of looked at it and said, let's try to save a couple dollars. And one of the places we could save was the hotel stay. We just didn't need a hotel that was going to be
Airbnb.
Or the
you
Airbnb.
mean. Yeah, we ended up going with the hotel because for this particular event, there was a block of rooms at a discounted rate. And it was like, all we're going to be doing is sleeping there. It's not a bad place. And that's one of the areas where
and
we
we went
sacrifice.
from like $900 to about $350.
It's a big difference.
It was a big difference.
Yeah, big difference.
And that money's staying in our vacation account. Like, we're not reallocating or anything like that. I mean, we're reallocating to a different trip.
Yeah, we'll need it. That was the whole point, is like looking at the year. But I do think it's important in general. I mean, we knew this was coming up, but making the effort, just like we talked about, different people find value in different things. It's like there are certain trips as well that are valuable. Like this means something to you. And it's like, we would never miss out on an opportunity. So if there is something going on where it's, whether it's a 30-year reunion or
in a lifetime.
Right. And there's lots of things that come along like that, whether it's family events or it's, sentimental value for something that's from your past. It's like, we very much so believe you need to make that happen.
100%.
We would probably prioritize those things. Not probably, we would, over any sort of, trip for just the two of us to take to a destination that seems ideal versus making sure we can show up for those that we care about the most or for things that matter to us.
And that's one of the really great things about having a dedicated vacation account is that you can actually see your trips that you're going on. You know what money's being spent and where. And so if you get an opportunity to go somewhere and do something or see a friend who's sick or travel to see a family member or a gathering's taking place, you can make that decision to go and then look at the other trips you have planned and see what can you tweak, what can you adjust. And today with the speed of hotel refunds, air credits.
You can usually
car
cancel
rentals.
up until, 72 hours in advance. It's like you have the opportunity to be so flexible. You can get credits for flights that you can utilize for something else. Like it
100%.
really has changed over the really since COVID, I would say. The ability to cancel a trip and reschedule or do something different
100%.
is a totally different ballgame.
COVID changed the entire ballgame for refunds. I mean, we had credits for a full year of different trips we had planned that we had to try to use. We had to track them. We actually created a spreadsheet and we're actually tracking each of our credits and we're using partial credits, and some of them were expiring within a year, and so we actually had to go on trips just to use our credits, which that was fun.
Yeah, I joked too. Someone was asking about utilizing their flight credit the other day, and I was like, well, you could always book a flight to anywhere that's about the same cost and then cancel that one, and then you get the credit and it goes for another year.
Yeah.
But anyway, playing the airlines. What I was going to say is not only did we look at the hotel for this particular trip, but just because we do have, if there's other events that pop up throughout the year, like we decided, you know what, we really do want to go visit your brother, and that's going to be an additional trip that maybe we weren't originally planning on, then we looked at my family trip this year. We had added on some nice to haves for you and I to just go to other cities, stay in hotels that we wouldn't typically stay at, go to some wineries. And it was like, okay, that we can cut. That's a nice to have for us.
Yep.
And we kept the family portion of it. And then we cut the nice to haves for us because we can do it anytime. We're not going to take away from seeing family. So we're constantly looking at how we can, still take trips and enjoy ourselves, make sure we get the family element, do our own thing, and work within our budgets, I think is the most important thing.
Right. And that is extremely easy to do because, we have a vacation account. And when you're only looking at money that's being used for vacation, it's very easy to move that around. And the trip that you canceled, I was actually kind of bummed because I was looking to going to some places
We'll
I
do
had
it
never
another
been.
time. I know.
And, that was going to be our big summer trip, was going to be 10 days up in Michigan. And we were going to kind of explore some areas I've never seen before. And we cut that down to a 6-day trip. And then we ended up booking at my brother's and, reallocating that. But that was what it was. It was just, hey, a couple phone calls, moving some numbers around in the software, and then we were done.
Yeah.
So it was pretty easy.
It worked out. But we did do some spring cleaning this week too.
We actually have been doing some spring cleaning. And it is, I'm not sure if it's technically spring right now. But,
yes, it is.
But we have gone through all of our cabinets, all of our drawers, and we have started boxing things up. Some stuff that we're going to go ahead and give to Bree. Some things we're going to give to Goodwill. Some things we're going to throw away.
Yes.
And one of the things that kind of jumped out for me when we were doing it was how many things I had bought that I've never used. So
I know. Well, it is both of us. I mean, there's certain items, or there's things that for me that we've bought that we purchased, but we didn't push out the old stuff. It's like a replacement item. We got new items, but we never did give away the old. And so this was a great opportunity for us to realize, like, okay, we've got 2 of these, or we got nicer baking dishes, and so these old ones, like, they gotta go. There were so many different things. I talked about the cheese grater the other week. There's so many different things that we pulled out, or just duplicates of things. I've got so many vases from flowers that people have given me. It's like, I don't don't need all these, you know.
Yeah, when I give you flowers now, I just go grab an old vase and I just buy the flowers
As
and
you
put them in
should.
there.
Yes. Thank you. I
'Cause
don't want any
sometimes
more vases.
Sometimes the flowers just come with vases and you're kind of stuck.
But not if you go to the farmer's market and you take the time to make it for me.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, but you're usually with me, so I'm not,
Yeah, true.
not going to the farmer's market and making you bouquets on the
No,
weekends.
it's the thought that counts.
So.
But we did go through a lot. He always says I need to be supervised when cleaning things out because I'm
You
the
do.
complete opposite of a hoarder. It's
She
like
will
I
throw
will.
away important things.
It's not important. He hates. I clean out our fridge like probably every couple of weeks, and he's like, "Where did the mustard go? That mustard was still good." He gets so mad at
That
me.
mustard doesn't expire for 3 months.
No, I look at the expiration dates.
Yeah, if it's within a couple
If
days,
it's close, it's
she knows
Gandhi.
that she won't check it for another 3 weeks. So if it's going to expire within 3 weeks, it's tossed.
Yeah.
So
and normally I do replace. Like I'll try to replace. I can't stand if I'm coming over to your house. Please make sure your fridge is cleaned. 'Cause
yeah,
I
and
will-
locked.
Unless you want me,
Yeah.
I'll dedicate an entire day of my vacation to cleaning your fridge.
can-
And so if you want that,
Yeah, we should add that as a product. Fridge cleaning.
just ship me
Just
around
give a
the United States.
we'll
I'll
do
clean
a 20-mile
fridges for a living.
radius, and include gas money.
Yes, please.
Make sure you can
No,
get
a
there.
dirty fridge is like, the worst.
We definitely actually have one of the cleanest fridges of anyone that I know. So, and that's saying a lot because I know a lot of really organized and clean people. So,
Yes, of course.
it's something.
But that wasn't part of it. What I promised is that we were going through and doing spring cleaning in the sense that we were really just looking at things that were worthy of giving away to others or giving to Goodwill,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't like throwing things away. Like there's other things that it's like,
Right.
what in the world is that doing there? Like we need to do like a full clean, you
Right.
know, not just like a donation, but a clean. And so we haven't gotten that far
Did
yet.
you throw anything out of the junk drawer?
The junk drawer. No, he's right. We do have caraway pans.
Everyone has a junk
And
drawer.
the caraway pans, they come with these like erasers for the pans themselves. And we have one
We
in
had
the
2 in
junk
there.
drawer. And he
I wanted to get rid of one.
He pulled one out to give to Bree. And I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, we have 2. And I was like, but she doesn't have the caraway pans. Like she
I
doesn't.
think they work on every pan.
I don't
That's
think
why
so.
I was like, this is the pan cleaner. I was like,
I've
why do we
actually
need
never
2?
even used it for the caraway pans. So I'm not sure what it does.
And that was part of why I looked at you and I was like, why?
Well, I don't
caring?
care.
I don't even know
I'd
if
rather
you knew,
throw
did
it
you even
away.
know you had those?
Well, if you asked me where they were, I probably wouldn't have known.
Yeah, you would have known. I don't think you knew that they came with them.
Yeah, no, I do know that.
Well, now you know. So now we have them. And we have about 400 pens in that drawer. Every charging cable known to man is in that drawer. But we didn't throw anything out of that drawer. It's the junk drawer.
It's the junk drawer.
It's one of the things
But I
that
keep it pretty clean, the junk drawer.
it gets organized probably every other month. So it is definitely a
There's
place
pens
to be.
in there and a first aid kit in case anyone's bleeding. in
So
the kitchen.
we actually had one of our first questions came in, and it is probably one of the easiest and hardest questions that you'll get or that we'll get, and it is how much should you be saving each month?
That is a hard question.
So I'm going to let you start off with. Well, actually, I'll tell you this. You know, one of the things that we preach that I've actually put in the book was the 20, 30, 50 plan, and that's kind of like the basic first. I would say when you do your first draft, 50% goes to your needs. That's your house, your car, food, insurance, all the things that you need to survive. The 30% is your wants, things that you want to do. That's like vacation, like you want to go on vacation. And then 20% is savings. So you're putting away for the future or you're saving towards a goal, something along those lines. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's important. If nothing else, I mean, the rule is a great rule of thumb to follow, but I think you also have to be realistic with where you are in life. And I think that if you can't save 20% a month, then you need to look at like what your cost of living is and then come up with a number based on what's left over to say, I am going to put this aside every month. Like prove to yourself that you can live off of just a little bit less and see how it goes, or make one small change. Even if you were like, I'm going to put $20 aside every week. Well, that's $100 a month. That's $200, $400 a quarter. Like all of a sudden you've got $1,000 a year that you wouldn't have had. And that in itself is a good start. Like somewhere you've got to start saving.
100%.
And I do think, we do a pretty good job saving in our own joint accounts that help us with our lifestyle, as well as money put off to the side for emergencies or buffers.
So we do something where we have both joint assets and savings, and then we each have personal savings and such. And we actually approach things much differently. You are very much in a lot of times, very much the saver type.
I don't hoard my items in my house. I hoard my money.
That includes, investments, 401k,
Yes.
a savings account, and just building that up. That makes you feel very comfortable. And then when we look on the flip side of that, I'm almost the extreme opposite, right? So I am like, I save, but not as much, because I'm into building what we do for the day job. We're building software, we're making companies, we're creating things. And so I reinvest in those and put a much smaller portion away.
And you're an entrepreneur. So I think that in itself is one of the main reasons why it's so important to come up with numbers that you can save, either as an individual if you're on your own, or combined in a relationship or a partnership if you're living together. I think that it's really important to know, like, okay, we're comfortable living this lifestyle and keeping this aside. But that's why having your own personal accounts saves you from any sort of money arguments, in my opinion. I mean, we know money is one of the number one reasons.
It is the number one reason
people have either
over.
arguments or causes divorce. I mean, there's just all kinds of issues that come up surrounding money. Stress that's caused by the inability to properly manage money, or figuring out where it's going to come from, supporting children, things that are joint assets or items. But I think it's so important to have your own personal savings, because you and I are completely different. You're an entrepreneur and a risk taker. What we've discussed in the past is, if there's no money to be had, you have the skill set to go get a contract, to make the money, to offer something, to build something, to go do a contracting job with woodworking if you absolutely had to. And there's some ways, shapes and forms where you could figure out a way. Whereas, I've always worked on a W-2. I've worked for corporations. I've offered a great, skill set. I think that I'm a really hard worker, but I can't just go find money tomorrow, because I can build a product or a service for like tangible money. And so, it's like I work for my time, then I create over the course of time value for businesses, but I can't create value like you can, which is why I keep my money closer to my chest, to make sure that if for any reason I didn't have the opportunity to work for a corporation, or something happened with the economy, which it has over the last couple of years, that I would have, a cushion to get me by, to live my life. So I'm not in a situation where I do need to stress. So I think it's super important. Yes, I have 401ks and I'm looking towards retirement, whereas you still are investing in what you believe to be the future. It's just you want to grow up your own businesses. You're an entrepreneur. You're taking the risk now to invest your funds in what would hopefully give you those payoffs that would allow for you to retire down the road too. It's just in two different ways.
And it's really, you have so many people that are self-employed, that have small businesses. I mean, as long as you have talked about it with each other back and forth, and it's, hey, you're making X number of dollars, I'm making X number of dollars, and we have these nest eggs set aside. This is what's joint, this is what's together. And whatever makes people comfortable, it's okay. It's okay to have that. And so I actually took a rough number, because I actually don't actually have it in the software where it shows you 10, 20, 30, 50. And so I was curious exactly how close we were, and if we fell in line with that. And I was actually pleasantly surprised. We're actually at 35%.
Of saving?
No.
Wishful thinking.
For once. So we're a little bit high on the want side. But that also includes some actually things that kind of sit on the edge. So a lot of people will ask, be like, hey, is my mortgage a need? Or is it savings? Because I'm paying down my mortgage.
Yeah, it's something that could be a value later.
It could be a value later, but it's actually classified in the need section. So if you have a mortgage payment, that's actually going to your 50%. When I looked at that, we're actually, if we look at just the numbers, we're actually 63%. And I was like, why are we 13% higher than this kind of average? And the reason is because we're on a accelerated mortgage schedule for our home. And so instead of a 30-year mortgage, we started with a 15, more of like a 15, and we pay more during the year. So that actually is why our savings is a little bit lower, because we put more money to pay that property down.
Well, so just to be clear, it was a 30-year mortgage, but
Correct.
if you pay, instead of paying once a month, if you pay once every 2 weeks, by the time that you make those payments every 2 weeks, there's times where they're receiving additional funds
payments. Yes.
that are going direct to the principal versus
Yes.
towards the interest payments, because if you pay off schedule, anything that's paid off schedule goes direct to principal in its entirety.
Correct.
And so by paying every 2 weeks, if you can do that, that's a huge trick. It doesn't shave 15 years off, but it does say on a 30-year mortgage you shave
actually 18.
seven years off.
Yeah. Based off of where our mortgage is. So
Oh,
I've looked at,
what we're gonna
where
pay.
we're at,
Okay.
and what we're paying extra. But the point is that the reason why our savings was actually a little bit lower than I expected was because we've actually allocated more money to our primary residence and our vacation home. So those are things that where we've chosen to put our money. So versus sitting in an actual savings account or something that we're saving towards.
And a lot of people
we
do
have
that.
some assets that we're pushing that money
Exactly.
towards.
I mean, we wish, trust me, I'm sure everybody does, when the interest rate was, 2.875, it's like, man, would it
yeah.
have been nice to have put a little bit more if you could have. I mean, I wasn't in a position, me hoarding my money, but
Yep.
it would have been nice to be able to make additional investments that would pay for it. And that's how people get rich, they, whether it's real estate, or it's
Absolutely.
businesses. I mean, you certainly have to spend money to make money, and that's so true in every facet.
Well, I think today, I think we've actually talked a lot more about budgeting specifics because, one, we touched our budget a lot more in the last 5 days than we have probably in the last month or two.
Yeah.
Because we have actually reevaluated some things, mostly because we were, started the podcast and we were like, hey, let's go ahead and research and talk about some of these items. And it caused us to actually think about a few things. And so super excited for those of you that are actually, using the software and building out your budgets and seeing how that works. Just a couple of days, we wanted to switch something and you had asked me if I had changed it in the software, and it took all 2 seconds. And then you were able to log in and see our new deposits amounts.
Yeah, we use the software ourselves to make sure that we're depositing the correct amounts into the different accounts. So
Yes.
we love it, but we're so thankful. Hopefully you guys are getting some tips and tricks from listening, and also just enjoying some hilarious stories from our lives.
So hopefully we'll have when we get back next week, we'll have gone up north, maybe created some good
share some
memories,
stories,
spent
yes.
some money, changed our budgets once again while we're sitting on the plane. So thank you so much for visiting us, and we'll see you next week.